Welcome to Bennett's Bike Social. My name is Simon, this is Chad, and today we're here in the splendour and the glory of the North Yorkshire Moors. And we are going to be comparing Triumph's Tiger 900 Rally Pro and Ducati's Desert X. Right, before we get started then mate, let's have a quick talk through what we've got here. Okay. Triumph's Tiger 900 Rally Pro, Ducati's Desert X, and we'll have a quick game of top trumps and just go through the top line spec of each bike, see what we've got.
Easy win.
Easy win, you think?
Easy win.
Oh, you're confident.
I've ridden it, I like it.
I've ridden this, I like this. Right, okay, let's start with the engines then.
Okay.
888cc, inline triple, making about 94 horsepower is what they claim.
Just 94.
Just 94. And we've got here, what have we got? We've got a 937cc V-twin.
V-twin.
Yeah, making about 110 horsepower.
Which is considerably more than yours.
It is, let me just do the maths. What's that, 16 horsepower?
16 horsepower, bigger capacity, more power.
Yeah, okay, all right, fair enough. You've got that at least on paper. I think riding them might be a little bit different.
Okay.
Of course, this has got, I mean, that is a V-twin, so that gives you that big V-twin vibes, presumably.
And sounds good.
And sounds good. In here, we've got the T-plane crank, which is a slightly wonky crank. To give it a bit more vibration and a bit more character than the standard sort of inline triple. It's all right, so on engines, we'll give you that on paper. In terms of chassis, neither of these two have got semi-active suspension.
No. First, both bikes fully adjustable, front and rear. Both running similar size front wheels.
Yeah, so 21 inch front, 21 inch front. Ducati's first 21 inch front?
Yeah, Ducati's first.
Okay.
And, and we've got slightly more off-road biased tyres.
Yeah, so what's that on there? I've got Bridgestone, what are they? The Battle Axe BT41s? Yeah, they BT41s, aren't they? Yeah, and you've got the
Pirelli's
Scorpion Rally STRs. Yeah. Which are the sort of the default off-road tyre for most adventure bikes these days, aren't they? Everybody seems to be fitting them.
So that's another win for me, because I can go off-road.
Yeah, okay. They're actually pretty good on road as well, aren't they? They're not too bad. Yeah. All right, fair enough. Okay, we'll give you that.
We'll skip price. Don't worry about that.
We'll talk about price. We'll talk about 13.5 grand. We'll talk about just over 14.
Yeah, but look at it. It's Ducati.
It does look pretty. I'll give you that. I mean, you know, it's subjective, but I think it is a good looking thing in that. Does it only come in white, or do they do a red one? Or I think it's just white, isn't it?
Just white.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty special looking thing. The Tiger's not a hideous bike by any means. But
no.
Compared to the Ducati, it's kind of a bit standard, and that's got some retro vibe to it somehow.
This is definitely retro Dakar. Yeah. That's got an elegance about it, I think. A sophistication. Yeah,
I mean, it's a nice traditional Triumph in terms of the component quality. All the bits that you look at are quite nicely finished. They're all quite nice and shiny, which is very much like Ducati normally is, I think. You know, just that kind of nice little design touches that elevate it. All right, so on looks, yeah, I'll give you the looks.
So I've won power, looks and off-road.
On paper.
On paper.
Let's talk about the electronic spec and the gadgets and the bits and bobs, the extras.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm good with that, I'm good.
You reckon? Okay, where do we start? Let's start with, comes as standard for 13.5 grand, you get the little fog lamps.
I got a button.
You got a button for them, but you haven't got the fog lamps.
No.
That's worse.
But I do have two attractive headlights that work.
Okay, I've got attractive headlights that work as well.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't really say that's a bonus, can you? You just got a button.
So I've got no fog lights.
No fog lights. Okay, we've got engine bars.
Don't need them because you're not going to crash.
Okay, it's got engine bars.
I don't have them.
Okay, it's got a centre stand.
Who needs a centre stand?
When you need the chain.
You don't need to.
No, you don't need to watch lubeless chains. Okay. Yeah. So you know, there's some practical stuff, but then it's also got heated seats.
Seats, sir?
Yes. Pillion and rider seat.
No.
That's pretty cool. This is all included in the price. Heated grips.
I've got a button.
Your button, yeah.
Got a button.
But you haven't got heated grips.
No, but it's like when I press it, it feels like I've got them.
Right, okay. I'm still not going to give you that.
Okay.
We've got an adjustable screen.
My head literally moves up and down behind the screen.
Yeah.
But
let's find out if that's enough, because I'm not sure if that's quite convincing.
In terms of spec, you are absolutely smashing me, and you're cheaper.
Yeah. Let's just go through on the spec. Tank size, 20 litre tank, 21 litre tank, which is kind of about the same. I think this is good for around about 180 to 200 if you nurse it a bit.
Yeah, this should be about the same, but we'll find out.
Yeah. We've done the tank. What else have we got? We're going to do weight. That was the other thing I was going to talk about. So this is about, oh God, I can't remember, 220 kilos. It's just round about the same as that, which is unusual because Ducatis are normally pretty light, but they're about the same on weight.
But is that including all your heated seat and the electrics?
Yeah, okay. All in. Let's talk about electronic spec then. So this has got 5-axis IMU. Yeah. Not the 6-axis that's got, I think. So that has got kind of like more sophisticated traction control.
Yeah. And specific off-road modes.
Right, okay. I think the off-road mode on this probably changes the engine mapping, and it might. I'm not sure if it switches the rear ABS off. It might do. I guess it does with that as well.
Yeah. We can play around with everything.
You can play around with that. Yeah. What else we got? That's traction control. We've got cruise control.
Yes.
Hey.
Yes.
Fantastic.
I have cruise control.
Cornering ABS.
Yes.
You've definitely got cornering ABS.
Yes.
This has got a 5-axis IMU, and I'm not sure it says cornering ABS in the spec, but I don't know how sophisticated that cornering ABS is.
Well, there's one way to find out.
Yeah. Well, should we do that then? Should we take them out for a ride?
Yeah. I think that's about level. I mean, I've won the looks, the beauty, and the performance. Yeah. And you've won the nerdy specky bits.
That kind of sums us up, doesn't it? Maybe not the beauty. Maybe not the beauty. Excellent. Let's go for a ride.
Cool, mate.
So here we are, what a beautiful day. Look at this up here on the North Yorkshire Moors. It's fantastic. Just awesome riding. And it's pretty awesome riding this thing as well, Triumph's Tiger 900 Rally Pro. It came out a few years ago. All new 888cc engine. It's got a longer stroke, wider bores. Makes around 94 horsepower, which is the same as the old Tiger used to make, the Tiger 800. But it makes it at lower revs. It's much more broader spread of power. Doesn't feel like 94 horsepower. I've got to say, it feels like 110. It's got plenty of go in this engine, and it is beautifully smooth. Even though it has got that T-plane crank sort of slight grumbliness, it's not intrusive. It actually feels like they've done a bit of jiggery-pokery, because it feels slightly less intrusive than it did when I first rode this bike on the launch. So whether they've tamed it a little bit more with some extra balancing, I'm not sure. But anyway, it's a really nice feel. Plenty of go in it. Great riding position. I like the Rally Pro over the GT models, the road-orientated Tigers, because the 21-inch front just gives the bike a bit more kind of a direct, agile steering feel. And the adjustable seat height means you can go up to about 890mm, I think, which, you know, if you've got the leg to do it, it gives you a more kind of aggressive, it's almost sports touring stance with these lovely wide bars. It's a really good riding position. You've got this adjustable screen. I mean, this bike really does come with the spec list, as we've said. Completely ticks every box. So, you know, it's so good to be able to ride along and go, do you know what? It's a bit nippy. I'm going to put my heated grips on. I'm going to put the heated seat on. It's just there. And it's a great, you know, I mean, the screen's pretty good. There's not much buffeting off this. I mean, you know, sort of your 70 miles an hour. My head's not rocking around and not kicking about. And it is adjustable if I did want to do that. I think I can just about do it. Yeah, there we go. Doesn't make a huge amount of difference, I don't think, to be honest, but hey. So yeah, it's all in all, it's a lovely riding experience. The suspension's a bit weird on this thing. At standstill, it feels like there's absolutely no damping in the rear shock at all. It's really bouncy, and when you get on it, it takes quite a bit of sag to get riding, but once it's settled and once it's set, it's really good. It's got great ride quality. You know, it's a fair bit of dive at the front end, but what do you expect? It's and you can rattle on at a fair old pace, which obviously can't really do here because we're limited to around about 60 miles an hour, but trust me, it can cover this ground quite a lot quicker than that. So yeah, Tiger 900 Rally Pro, thoroughly enjoyable motorbike. In fact, I think this is my favourite Tiger, to be honest. I think I prefer it to the 1200. It's just a better balanced bike. Just the size of the engine and the output and the size of the bike, it's a bit more manageable. I could quite happily ride this to the south of France, and I could quite happily ride it to the shops. So, it's, yeah. Well, very enjoyable machine. So here we are on Ducati's Desert X. Direct back-to-back comparison. I've just dumped off the Tiger, just dumped on the Desert X, and I can tell you there's some stark differences straight away. So first of all, I can feel every bump and ripple in the road. The suspension is a lot more direct, there's a lot more feedback, it's much more intimately connected to the road, which isn't to say the Triumph feels vague, it's just two totally different sort of experiences. You can definitely feel more going on. It's not to say the ride quality is worse or any better, it's just, it's more there. Maybe it's something you could dial around with the settings, but as it stands, that's how that feels. Engine, it does feel like it's got a bit more go in it than the Triumph. It's really energetic. This is the same unit that's in the Super Sport, in the Multistrada 950, in the Monster. It's a very versatile engine, but it is really good. It has got some go in it. It has more aggression to it. Not aggression in a nasty sense. It's just, again, it's a bit more of an active kind of feel. The throttling feels a bit more direct. The Triumph's very linear. It's very easy to meter. I mean, this isn't particularly hard, it's not snatchy, but you open it and you kind of get more go than you thought you would. And then what else can we say? Yeah, the riding position, it's fairly similar. It doesn't feel quite as tall, actually. It certainly feels slimmer than the Triumph. And it does kind of feel lighter as well, even though the spec says that they're roughly the same weight. This does feel like it's several kilos lighter, so it feels like a smaller bike. Feels getting down more towards the 10R8 700 range of things. And not quite as small as that, but certainly less wide, less substantial than the Triumph. Which again, you know, it's kind of pros and cons. I haven't ridden these two bikes off-road back to back, and we'll talk to Chad later on and find out what he thinks. But I would say that this feels like the more naturally off-road orientated machine, just on the basis of what we're doing here, with its direct steering, its direct suspension. Yeah, the other thing to talk about is the screen. Similar to the Triumph in that it's quite narrow, so there's a lot of sort of wind blast on the tops of the shoulders here. But there's a little bit of head buffeting going on. Obviously it's unadjustable. This steeply raked screen is so sharply upright, it feels like there's a roll of turbulence coming off, and it's just spinning up enough to give the head a little bit of a nodding. It doesn't feel all that comfortable, to be perfectly honest. That's something I'd want to change if I was an owner. And the other thing about looking forward is that this screen is, I mean, it's pretty enough, but it's tiny. Should we have a quick turn around here and nip back up that road? I think we can do that, can't we? Yeah. Screen's tiny. I mean, it's got a lot of information on it, a lot of numbers, and they're too small. Probably a bit less information and a bit bigger. Get a bit too old for all this small stuff. Right, here we go. Let's have a quick look behind. Yep, we're good to go. Check this engine. You know, that's a good little unit. So there we are. That's a really quick thumbnail sketch of the Desert X. I think it's a narrower, smaller, more petite motorcycle than the Tiger. It feels like it would be more sort of naturally biased towards riding off-road. It's a more direct steering, more direct suspension. So yeah, all that kind of stuff. The Tiger feels like it's a more, like I say, a more all-rounder, more rounded road-going bike. But I'd be quite happy again riding this to the south of France. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Riding position even feels narrower. Bars feel a little bit narrower than the Tiger as well. So there we go. Really quick overview of the Ducati Desert X.
Oh, Chad, that was an interesting day, whizzing up and down the moors.
Yeah, my back garden. No, find a better place to ride a bike.
Because this is your local, isn't it? This is where you hang around.
Yeah. It's just, the amount of times I've ridden these roads is, I lose count. I think the first time I was on an RG125 or an FZ6. But
all right,
very different from what we got
Yeah,
today.
we've come a long way. And you've done a bit of off-road riding on them today as well.
Yeah. I enjoy off-road riding. And these bikes, they're not as intimidating and it's quite accessible. You know, when you go to like big bikes like the 1200s.
Yeah.
It's quite intimidating, but these are smaller, lighter, much more manageable.
Okay, I'm intimidated by these. So what did you find? Let's talk about the off-road stuff before we talk about what they're like on the road.
Well, the off-road, the Triumph's a bit of a hindrance because it's not got the off-road bias rubber of the Ducati.
For sure.
But the Triumph is actually, it surprised me. It holds its line, the position's good. It can ride off-road like we've shown, but it does feel quite mechanical. It feels quite heavy.
Yeah.
It feels like you're riding a road bike off-road.
Yeah. Yep.
Where the Ducati feels like you're riding an off-road bike off-road.
Right, gotcha.
You're not trying to force it to do something that it was never intended to do.
Okay, and is that down to something like the physical size of them, or the riding position?
The Ducati
or
feels a lot lighter,
it does.
more responsive,
Yep.
much slimmer. Its suspension copes better with a few little hops over rocks and things like that. And everything translates to you as the rider. The torque's really nice on it as well when you're in the specific mode. It's just an easier, manageable bike to ride off-road, but it's not saying the Triumph's bad.
No.
You can easily take that off-road.
I mean, I rode that off-road on the launch, and compared to the previous Tiger 800, that was a huge step forward for me. Because
and the old one, the old 800, I rode off-road in Morocco a few times. And it was...
Go on.
They are great bikes off-road.
Yeah.
But I always feel, when we did them back-to-back then, that the Triumph just feels a little bit heavier, a little bit more mechanical, a bit like you'd run out of breath after an hour first on the Triumph than you would on the Ducati. The Ducati is far less intimidating, far easier. But a lot of that as well is also down to the tyres.
That's a pretty good, for a first-time effort, the first 21-inch front, the first kind of...
incredible,
it's not a bad effort. And it's interesting, I mean, we were talking about it earlier, and you said that, in a way, the Ducati, it almost has sort of like a KTM kind of feel about it. Obviously, you know,
it is a little old, like we were saying, a bit 950, 990.
Yeah.
That kind of
old
Dakar
school
KTM with a big 21-inch front. Because that bike was like really good off-road, but it had like a bit of a spark about it. It was fun. You know, it kicked and it wheelied and you could play with it.
Yeah.
And that does exactly the same. It's got a personality that wants to, like, especially around these roads where it's just barren, there's no traffic around, and you rising over crests and the front's going light, and you just feel like you put it where you want and just have fun with it.
Yeah. Now we've moved on to riding on road, because you've been doing that on road as well. It's fun bike on road too, isn't it? It's got that kind of naturally fizzy kind of character. It's really up for it.
It just wants to play, and you know the rider aids are there to assist, but it's easy to switch them off.
Yeah.
And it just, you know, the engine, it's got that torque, every gear. It feels a lot lighter than it's on paper suggests. It feels way lighter than the Triumph.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Even though on paper they're about the same. It just feels lively.
Yeah.
And it's like, you get on it, and like we've been riding quite a long time today, you know, since 7 o'clock this morning. And you get on it and you're like, oh, a bit tired, you know, what time's tea? And then you go, wah, 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 and then you see a crest and you jump over that crest, and then you attack some bends, and it encourages you to run on, you know, it encourages you to have fun.
It definitely has a different kind of character to the Triumph. So for the Triumph, for me, is much more refined, it's much more restrained, it's much more easygoing, it's much less lively. It's got a character that T-plane crank definitely gives it. Yeah, it's got a bit of a grumbly character to it. In terms of performance, you're right, it doesn't feel as lively as the Ducati, but it doesn't feel underpowered. It feels like it's got plenty going on with it.
It's got enough power, but considering both bikes, when Triumph and Ducati drew their little list of, must have 21-inch front wheel, must be able to do this, must do that.
Yeah.
You'd have seen the brief was probably pretty similar. But the bikes are really different in terms of character.
Yeah, completely different. But you know, let me just speak up for the Triumph a bit, because that is definitely got that kind of fun, feisty sort of character. This is the bike that I'd want to ride more often, because I'm not always. It's like the Ducati's like going to a party where you're not in the mood for it. You know what I mean? And you're kind of standing there going, look, I know I'm supposed to be having fun, but it's really annoying me that I don't want to have fun. I want to be miserable today. I want to be comfortable. I want to.
Miserable.
You know what I mean? I want to put my comfy trousers on and
that's comfy trousers.
It's my comfy trousers and my flip flops and just slouch about. That's kind of what that does. It lets you, you know, obviously you can ride it with a bit of vim and a bit of vigour and have some fun, but its default setting is less aggro than that. It's easier going.
If we had like another 3-4 hour ride back,
exactly,
we'd be fighting for the Triumph.
Exactly, especially because it's got heated grips and heated seats. That's really nice. I love the way we was riding around for half the day, and I was thinking, oh, I'm getting a bit chilly on this, and I remembered, I'd forgotten it had heated seat and heated grips. It's like, what? Yeah. I think
the spec and the comfort is above the Ducati.
And we were saying that it's almost like about what you want to do with the bikes, in that what kind of riding you do, which bike fits your lifestyle the best, and that would fit my lifestyle, because my kind of like fantasy imagination is doing big miles and significant trips, and that would be the one that I'd get. And if your fantasy lifestyle is coming up for the Yorkshire Moors for a quick play around,
I mean, I've
that's
got like
default.
An hour and a half to get home, which I'll turn into 2 hours. And on the way home, I'll go green laning. You know, I'll attack some rocks, I'll have some fun, I'll go investigating, I'll try and find a ford, you know, I'll find some nice humpback crests, and I'll have some fun. And I won't touch a dual carriageway or any real big road for the next 2 hours.
See, what I'm going to do when I go home is I've got about a 3.5 hour trip, and I'm going to go back. I've got to go via York to see my son at uni.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just sit on a motorway and an A road and just go, right,
exactly.
Heated seats, heated grip, get me there, get me home. Yeah, totally.
So in terms of faults then, let's go through faults. Faults of the Triumph.
Faults? That's a tricky one, because I mean, there's one obvious fault with the Ducati, which is the screen, which is not the end of the world, because I'm sure you can fix that with a different screen, an aftermarket screen. Someone would be on that already doing something, so that's not really a massive thing. No. Faults for the Triumph, I mean, yeah, all right, it doesn't look as good as the Ducati. Is that a fault? I don't know. I mean, it hasn't quite got that.
It's interesting, because for me, when you're paying 15,000 for a bike,
13 and a half.
Well, once I've had the accessories.
Yeah.
You want that kind of open garage door wow factor.
Yes, yeah, I'll give you that, yeah.
And that has definitely got it.
Yeah.
And as nice as the Triumph looks when it's on its own, it's not got the wow of the Ducati. But then the Ducati, I just say, that's just like when I rode the bike on the launch, we rode in Sicily or Sardinia, and it was just a dangerous riding competition, then off-road, then dangerous riding competition and off-road. So I never really just sat there and got buffeted by that
blobbed
screen.
out on it.
Yeah. And now I'm like, that screen.
So I know what you mean. There is a visual thing. When you open the garage door, you get a kind of like a wow because of the look of that bike, of the Ducati. But when I open the garage door and look at the Tiger 900, I get a wow because it's so practical. It's so warm. It's so easy to ride. It's so benign. It's so nice.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of
the finish is lovely.
It's a good finish, classic Triumph finish. Like I say, Triumph and Ducati both do. Actually, I think Ducati, to me, they look a little bit messier than they used to. I think their bikes used to, there's a little bit more cable routing going on. It's a bit, I don't know, but the Triumph build quality, finish quality is like through the roof. It's really nice stuff. They're both really good, I think. They both do that really well. They've both got those nice little touches like the quick shifters. They've both got the adjustable pegs, adjustable peg position. You can flip the brake lever over on both, can't you, for riding on road and off road, all that kind of stuff.
And the modes are quite easy to navigate on the Ducati. You can flip between sport, touring, urban, rally.
Yeah.
You can switch the ABS off. When you're off road, you can switch the traction off.
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy and simplistic. It's quite far away. I'm all right because I'm young, but you're old.
Yeah, I can't see a thing.
You're struggling with it. Because it's about the size of an iPhone.
It's smaller. It's tiny. I think that is a good point, actually. That is one of the flaws with the Ducati, is the clocks are too small for me.
Clock's too small and the screen is buffety.
Yeah.
Aside from that.
Yeah. It should have heated grips. If you're going to put a heated grips button on a bike, put heated grips on. I just think it's rude. Do you know what I mean? It's just taking the mickey out of you. It's going, nah. It's like that. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Put them on.
I guess it depends on the market, because I imagine people are going to ride that. Brits, Germans, all year, every year, through winter, everything.
Yeah.
Whereas the Ducati probably might get parked up over winter.
Yeah, true. I can see that. Fair enough. That's one excuse. I'll give you that. But anyway, there we go. So, riding home, we've agreed that we're going to take the
ride home, Triumph.
Yeah, an easy ride home. Yeah. A bit of fun. We're going to take the Ducati. I mean, it's nice, isn't it? The bikes are so close in spec, but so different, and they appeal to a different kind of customer. Which is why it's really hard to say one's a winner and one isn't. I couldn't split them. I can tell you what I personally prefer, and you can tell me what you personally prefer. And I think that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make. I'm not going to say that's a better bike than that, or that's better than that. It's just.
Yeah. Big miles, two up.
Yeah.
Touring. Very rarely going off road. Triumph. Playing, having fun, like an excitable dog.
And they can cross over. You could do a bit of touring on that. You could have fun on that.
But you'd want to change the screen and put the big fuel tank on the back.
Yeah. Excellent. Right, there we go.
So what we're going to vote for next? Because this was all being done by...
Oh, of course, it was the voting. Yeah. So what, this was the... People wanted to see this, didn't they? As opposed... Yeah.
Head-to-head. And we've done Yamaha and Kawasaki.
I've got no idea what the next one is. We'll have to check. We'll have to have a look. Do you know?
No. Hopefully with winter approaching, it's something...
in Spain?
Yeah.
Something foreign.
Yeah, not mopeds in the North Pole.
That sounds like quite good fun. Excellent. Right. There we go. Anyway, so I hope that's helped you a little bit. We've just basically given you a flavour of what these two bikes are like. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget you can read the feature somewhere on BikeSocial.co.uk. Please comment below if you've got any more questions or anything else you want to ask about. And hope you've been reasonably entertained. Thank you very much for watching. Yeah, there is a bit of Yorkie in there.
I didn't know if there was.
You've already had a whole bar.
Oh, I didn't want any
Still
more.
hungry?
No, I thought it was going to blow away. I'm thinking what's in the frame.
You ain't going to blow away.
It's like Yorkie and fucking Yorkie and Fat Wallet.
It's not that fat. I'll hold my paper down with it.
Put it there. No,
it's not a motorbike. It's an MP3 of description. That was a three-wheeler, wasn't it?
It was a ADAV, the adventure scooter from Honda.
Was it? It didn't look like it was. I thought it had three wheels on it.
No.
Oh well. Might as well be a tricycle.
Right, come on.
Right, we good?
Okay.
Right.
Welcome to Yorkshire.
You got to say action, otherwise I can't do it unless you say action.
Give us a clap. We haven't had a clap to sink it all in. There we go. Thank you.
You got to say action, mate. I can't do it.
Action.
Thank you. Welcome to Bennett's Bike Social. My name's Simon. This is Chad.